Hi, welcome back to the Rewriter's Room with your host Maxwell and your new and improved host Brandon. And
what the
I'm
fuck
Brandon.
is this? Who the hell are you?
I'm Brandon.
Nice to meet you, man. But what the fuck is this?
I thought you said you were busy today and you weren't coming.
Are you fucking replacing me?
No. That's not.
He doesn't even have my fucking mic. Where the hell's my mic?
Well, you see, you own the audio equipment, so
How the hell do you have my mic then? And I don't even have a fucking drink?
Well, hang on. The Jared Harris jacket will bless you. You want that?
Does that mean I can join this episode?
Hell
I mean,
yeah,
I guess
you
why
can.
if you're here.
Shit. Hey. Let's go.
2 months from today, whatever date it is that you're watching this video, you will be in a better situation.
So, now we're actually starting the episode here.
This is a new angle.
Well, yeah, it's special. We have our good friend Brandon. Shout out Brandon.
Hello.
We've
Man.
mentioned him before on the show
Well,
once or twice.
Let me just say, welcome to the Red Greens Productions. Here we are talking about the Rewriter's Room. And
We're gonna talk about how we would rewrite the
we were
rewriters
talking
room.
about yeah. So, that said, let's start. Let's go right to left here. We got a great host right here.
Max, it's me. It's your boy. You already know.
Yes, sir. You got your boy, Kana.
That's it.
And then we got our
Okay.
guest over here,
Um,
Brandon. He is a great friend of ours. And don't worry, man. It's your first time. We'll christen you gently.
Hell yeah.
We'll be gentle.
And you want to know how gentle we'll be?
How gentle will you be?
Today, we're talking about what I know is a favorite movie of yours, or a
Mhm.
really good pick for you. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Wow.
So
What
also,
a movie.
Brandon's a great guest for this because Brandon, what do you do?
So I'm in a band. And,
So you make music too?
yeah, I do make
What
music.
kind of music?
I make like punk / garage
He makes punk / garage.
music. Yeah, I don't know. We kind of fucking suck, but you can check us out.
and
We're
Yeah, suck,
Baghead.
Yeah, Baghead. There'll be Baghead social medias and stuff will be linked below.
we'll make sure that we give another proper shout out at the end of this.
Of course.
Shout
Also
out
check
for
out
real.
DNS.
DNS.
Another
Great.
group you're a part of. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we gotta make some music together too, man.
We do.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
Yeah, we do. Okay, so Scott Pilgrim.
Versus the world.
Versus the world. And
Yeah.
apparently the world is just 7 evil exes.
Yeah.
No,
I'm glad you didn't say ex-boyfriends.
it's 7 evil exes because
Yeah.
everyone forgets that there's the one experiment as
Spoiler
as,
alert.
Ramona
Oh,
called it.
dude, Ramona's
Spoiler alert.
bi-curious.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. Her girlfriend's a little bi-serious or bi-furious. That was it.
Well,
Oh,
I was
bi-furious.
bi-serious,
She's
but I
also
forgot.
pretty bi-serious.
He.
I said she. Did I not say she?
Did he say she?
I don't fucking know.
Man, I'll drink to that one.
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that.
Mm,
Hey,
Whiskey
we'll
for
all
the
drink.
Brewskis for the boyskis.
mm. Man,
It's been a little bit since we've had brewskis for the
It has
boyskis.
it has been a
It has
while
been a
since we
minute.
had brewskis.
It's been like one. I think it's been one episode.
we're secretly functioning alcoholics.
Oh my god, it's been so long. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
3 hours. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, Scott Pilgrim. Before it was a movie, it was a comic book. There was a game that also
This is
came
the
out
comic
because of
book
the
right
movie,
here.
right?
Yeah.
I had the game, and we've played it once or twice.
Yeah,
before.
and
Have you beat the game?
oh, plenty of times.
Oh, really?
I had it originally on the PS3, and yeah, so it was like a tie-in with the movie, but it does actually like mainly, I think, fall more in line with the comic books, like the comic
Interesting.
books version of events. But like it's really fun.
I mean, the comic book's basically the movie. It's just there's there's
I
just
think
a lot more extra stuff.
stylistically, it's more comic
Don't they
booky
also have a
because of
different
the
ending
art
of
style.
Comic book?
Yeah, it's like slightly different.
Well,
'cause-
in the game, every character that you complete the story with has a different ending, which is kind of cool.
and then
Oh, that's actually really cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of like a choose your own adventure.
I'm pretty sure.
Not necessarily. It's just like if you choose a character, like if you beat the
Well, that's
game
what
with
I mean.
yeah.
Like it's like a different ending, like almost like a choose your own adventure type thing, where like you choose this character, you get this type of ending.
Get the different endings.
Yeah.
You know.
And then in the comic, I'm pretty sure it kind of ends in the way that when Ramona and Knives realize that Scott cheated, that I think they kind of do break up and then decide to give it another chance, but it's like a little bit more ambiguous if they're gonna be okay or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's right. And also, I think the comic book is basically just there's just more steps and things that happen with each X
Yeah.
that he faces. Like the fight against Chris Evans is like they talk for a while.
Yeah.
And just like chill.
Yeah, you were
at one
telling
point.
me actually there was just one point where Lucas Lee just straight up is just venting to Scott about Ramona.
It's like one of my favorite parts of the comic book. Like in the middle of Lucas Lee and Scott fighting, Lucas Lee just like has a heart to heart with Scott, and he's just like,
Don't they like just share carrots too?
I don't remember,
They're
but
like
like,
eating a snack, and I think it's
Yeah.
carrots.
and then Lucas is just like, yeah, man, like Ramona cheated on me, and like I never really got over it, and then Scott's like, she cheated on you? It's like, okay, Scott,
Yeah, that's Rich.
but like,
Allen from
but like,
motherfucker.
like, okay, Scott.
Can't believe someone would do that.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I also think it's important since we're talking about this movie and you know our rewrites for it. I think it's also important acknowledging when the movie came out, like it was very much not received well from universally everyone, almost critics, fans. Like I don't know if you know that, right?
I did not actually.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
when
that
this
either.
movie came out, it was panned from critics and fans. It was like deemed shit, dog shit. And I remember specifically Edgar Wright was saying in an interview that he was like down in the dumps, depressed about that. But the Universal CEO at the time emailed him and said, "It's a marathon, not a race." Because I think even the CEO knew that this movie was like ahead of its time with visual style, comedy beats, stuff like that. I fully do believe that, like, I mean, you look at the times when this movie came out and all the other stuff that was coming out, so unique. There was nothing like it, you know?
Yeah.
I do think this movie was ahead of its time, and I think, honestly, I think it has aged like fine wine. At least for me. I know
Yeah.
you're a piece of shit on today's show, Max. Spoiler alert, in case you guys were wondering what opinions people have.
I don't hate it.
You literally just upstairs said that you didn't like this movie.
I wouldn't say I don't like it. I don't love it for sure.
He just said, I don't like the movie upstairs. He did say that.
I don't remember that.
You can't say you wouldn't say it because you did.
I don't know about that.
Are you gaslighting me?
Are you gaslighting me?
What are you, fucking crazy?
All
Gaslighting
right,
isn't
guys.
real.
As your new host, I think we should calm down.
All right, guys.
He goes, all right, guys. As the like CEO of this production company. Man.
There's I will say, a lot of people point this out as like the best comic book movie ever made.
I think it's a great one. I don't think it's the best one.
Yeah.
I've answered which one I think is the best comic book movie ever made.
Watch the
Great
video,
video,
on the
by
Red
the
Green
way.
Productions channel.
Without
Great
saying
video.
there's a whole deep dive I do on it on the channel. Go check it out. I don't know if I told you this. I recorded the entire audio to it, which was like a 40-minute take.
Yeah.
And then I realized I didn't have like any cover on the mic, so all the plosives were so loud.
Oh, the closest really.
There was peaking every time I breathed towards the mic, and I had to re-record the entire thing.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Christ.
And I was just like, but I'm glad I did before I started editing everything, because it was like sporadic. It wasn't
Really?
so I could have easily gotten like 10 or 15 minutes into it and realized I have to record like all of this. But yeah, I'm really proud of how that one turned out.
Hell yeah.
It's a great video.
But
I'm
honestly,
glad to have
I
it on
will
the channel.
say that I feel like the way that Scott Pilgrim vs. the World was edited had a lot of influence on my answer and that movie.
So I want to ask this then, because this is the rewriters room, Is this more an editing thing for you, or is this more of a script thing for you?
No, I
that
think
you
the
don't
editing
really-
is the best part of the movie.
Okay.
And I think the action, editing, and pacing is the best part of like almost all of Edgar Wright's movies.
I think the one thing this movie has going for it that like really sets it apart from anything at its time and even a lot of stuff now is it has such a unique visual style. Because even beyond the
Mhm.
editing being really, really, really fast paced, like any Edgar Wright movie now, I think this movie just visually and stylistically is its own taste and own genre. You know,
Yeah.
like I can't sit here and say how many times I'm watching a live action movie of people fighting, and after they beat like score comes up, they turn into actual goddamn quarters, like, and then all the like the visual gags too. Like I remember telling y'all about my absolute favorite one with
The window.
with knives coming to knock at his house and Wallace
Yeah.
answers.
Scott here?
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Oh, you
really
just
love some of the
left.
editing. I really love some of the editing in that movie. Like it does a really good job of like blending scenes together.
There's
Mhm.
like
Oh, like all the transitions, like when
I
like,
love-
people stick their head in frame and yell at Scott, and then when they pull away from that close up,
Yeah.
they're like walking down the street or whatever.
Yeah, like I love the like part near the beginning where it's like Scott and Knives like out on the town. They're like going to Goodwill. They're going to like the arcade.
Yeah.
And then like out of nowhere they're talking in the music store, and you see the shot on Scott where he's still in the music store goes back to Knives. They're outside walking on the street having a completely different conversation,
Yeah.
but the way it's edited it sounds like they're having the very same conversation,
yeah.
and they're both framed like perfectly the same way they were in the other set, which I thought was really cool.
Also, there was one transition that I liked, and it when you look at it closely, it's a little weird looking, but there was something about it. I forget when it happens, but there's a scene where Scott's walking down the street, and there's a tree in the shot, but the previous scene was like an all black scene. So like as the all black, like the scene kind of does a wipe transition.
Where like as the tree comes in, the rest of the
Yeah,
scene
the
comes
edge
in.
of the black frame is like the tree,
That's
and
so
it goes
cool.
to the shape of the tree trunk,
Yeah.
and it like goes with it, so it makes it look like it's a really wide tree. But there was something about it that I was like, that's cool. I like how that looked. It was like really smooth.
I seriously do believe like 110% this movie like hyper stylized. Like the only other comparison I can make for how hyper stylized it is like the Speed Racer movie, if y'all remember that one.
Yeah,
The
I don't
live action
remember
one.
that one too much, but I
It
do remember
was, like,
watching
I
it.
remember John
hella
Goodman
hyper
is in it.
stylized. Yeah, he is. But yeah, no, it's like it's. I mean, you know what I mean when I say it. It is like
yeah, it's like a live action anime.
yeah, and like quite literally, this is just like a live action like comic book or anime. It's crazy.
This
Yeah.
is like it's weird
Truly.
because it's like a clash of a lot of styles. I mean, it's a lot of video game inspired things, obviously, because that's how it was in the original comic, and then it is also a comic, so there's tropes from a comic book, and then there's also just a lot of like transitions that can really only happen in the space of a movie and a moving picture,
Yeah.
which is why I think I would go against the argument of it's the best comic book movie. I think it's probably one of the best pop culture movies because it combines aspects of a lot of really cool stylizations of pop culture. But I think to just call it a comic book movie is selling it short because it's a lot more than just a comic book movie.
Just because it comes from a comic book, I don't think it should be labeled as a comic book movie. And I know that's like by definition what a comic book movie is. But I think, yeah, you're right. There's so much more to this movie that I think transcends it from a comic book movie. And especially the way it's aged and how it's gained its cult popularity now. It is quite literally just a pop culture movie at this point.
Yeah, I think it's like gotten to the point where it's like become its own animal aside from the comic book.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there are the people that, you know, have only seen the movie and like that's great. Like they love the movie. And for Edgar Wright and for everyone that worked on that film, it's a win. But also like there's the people that, you know, like the comic books, and it's like pretty much the same story you're getting, but it's I think the movie itself has garnered such a, like Connor said, like such a cult following that it's just become like its own animal, like its own thing, that it's kind of cool.
Yeah. No, I definitely think it's like such a cool thing to see, especially like now it's like I would argue, I wouldn't even argue, say it's a fact that the movie is way more popular than the comic book. I think that's
I
just
think so too,
a
yeah.
fact to say at this point. But I think it's cool because if people actually sit down, they're like, oh, well, I wonder how this movie came to be, and they do the research, you'll see, oh, it came from a comic book. Well, let me read the comic book, which is also fucking great.
Yeah, I will say,
Mm-hmm.
while I like a lot of the stylization and stuff, there are just some moments where watching a person suspended in air, or like the limitations of the physicality of an actual human body.
Mm-hmm.
Some things and actions kind of do just look a little strange or awkward.
I don't know. I think that also lends itself to the charm of this movie.
A little bit.
Because I think the movie in and of itself, following this awkward guy, for lack of a better way to describe him, you're following the most awkward fucking dude in the movie, right? I mean, especially, he's played by Michael Cera, and I know you famously don't like Michael Cera too much.
I don't know Michael Cera.
But I'm saying,
I don't know Michael Cera. I'm not
I
scared
know
of him.
you're famously, like, to us and our friends at least, you're not the biggest fan of his acting. Right?
That's not true. I love him in Superbad.
Okay, so one movie out of his entire filmography.
Well, also, I don't know too many movies I could think of other than Superbad and
This
Scott
is the
Pilgrim.
end.
This is the
Where
he was
he
great,
has,
man.
like-
he was like a cocaine version of himself.
Does that even really count?
You're like, I feel like he wasn't even acting.
I think that's just Michael Cera.
No, but I think it's perfect. You get an awkward, sweaty white dude to play an awkward, sweaty white dude, and then you have awkward type of, suspended visuals and emotions at times. I think it works so well with the movie and just the vibe and visual storytelling of it all.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Parts of me just kind of, while watching this, was wondering, would this be better? Would it look better? And would it feel better if it was animated?
That's also what I kind of wanted to touch base on, is like, I feel like this movie would have worked better had it be like an episodic thing, being that the comic books were like 6 parts.
7 parts.
No, I'm pretty sure 6.
I thought it was. Oh wait, yeah, I think you're right. I think I was thinking of the how many axes there.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure there's only 6
Excuse
volumes.
yourself.
They did release like a special short comic. I don't remember what holiday. I don't think it was Free Comic Book Day, but it was one of those comic book holidays.
Yeah.
But I heard that
Oh, yeah,
Netflix
it
is
was,
doing an animated show for Scott Pilgrim.
Wasn't the extra comic? It was like the flashback to him doing something with Kim when he was dating Kim.
I don't
the drummer.
remember.
I think that was, or is that in the comic? I forget.
I think this is important to say right here, right now. I know I've only ever seen the movie. I'm guilty of that. I haven't played the game. I haven't read the comic. So I only know this movie from the movie, not the other media, though I do plan on wanting to read the comic book at points. I know you've read the comic book.
A little bit.
And you played the game.
Yes.
And you have read the full comic book.
It has been a really long time, so I kind of forget a lot of it.
But there is, you have read it.
So I read it
knowledge
online, because I only have the first 2 books. So I read it online after I saw the movie a while ago, and I kind of, read it. So none of it really stuck, and I really do want to reread it. And watching this movie made me want to reread the comic.
Really?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Because I was like, man, I bet the comic's better.
And then you're going to read the comic and go, man, it's literally just the movie. All right. I mean, I do want to do this last thing right here before we get into any criticisms, more any rewriting, anything like that. Right. I feel like this is a very important thing we got to talk about.
Okay.
Rate the 7 evil X's.
Oh, who's your favorite X?
Who's your favorite? Favorite to least favorite. Rate the 7.
Oh, number 3, the vegan guy. What's his name?
Todd.
Oh,
Todd. Yeah, Todd. Todd's my favorite. The jokes with just the whole idea of the vegan police and stuff.
Yeah.
And just being vegan gives
Also-
you superpowers.
I don't know. It's tied between Lucas and Todd for me. I
I
think.
mean, come on. The whole Clash at the Demon Head, or Clash of the Demon Head, or whatever.
Clash at Demon.
Clash at Demon Head. That whole sequence where they're standing in the crowd, and then he's all like, "Yep, that's my ex," and then she's like, she's dating this guy Todd, and then Ramona's like, "Yeah, I know," and then he's like, "You know," and then it's bouncing back and forth to the beat of Black Sheep being covered by Brie Larson.
So good. Also, that cover's great. I don't give a fuck what people say.
I listen to that
Did you hear
all
the
the time.
rumors Captain Marvel 2 is going to be a musical? I'm sorry. I gotta bring that up because Brie Larson's in both this and Captain Marvel.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know how I
If
feel
they
about
sing
it.
Black
but
Sheep, I'll be okay with it.
listen, I'll be real. I'm not the biggest fan of Brie Larson. I'm not gonna line up in the theater to watch the new Brie Larson movie. She can fucking sing though.
She can.
I will give her that.
I do like her in this
If you
movie
ever
a
wanna-
lot.
Also,
She's
if you ever
great.
want to see something she's great in, watch Room. Not The Room.
Oh
Not
yeah,
the
I've
Room,
seen
not
I've
Sunrise
seen
of
I've seen
Room.
that. That's actually really good.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen it yet because the
Sad
one
as
thing
fuck.
I hear, I hear you have to be in the right mood to watch that movie. And like, I'm not gonna lie, yo, I'm in my self-confidence arc right now, so I'm not trying to bring that down.
Yeah,
I'm not
no,
trying
it's-
to be
it's-
sad or ruin that right now.
It's definitely like a fucking tearjerker.
I
Like
know.
100%.
I think I agree with y'all though. Todd, number 3,
He's
he
my
is the
favorite.
best. I think the second best easily is Lucas.
That's
Lee.
also funny, the casting, because like we mentioned them. So we got
Like,
Superman,
literally, and it's
Captain
crazy.
America, Punisher.
It's
technically
crazy.
Human
You
Torch.
could sit here and point out everyone who's become a big star in like superhero media.
Huntress.
This movie came out before most of them.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Is there any others?
It's Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, yeah. I just mentioned it and I couldn't think of it for some reason. Yeah, you got Captain Marvel, Superman, Punisher, Captain America, technically also Human Torch.
Wait,
I think the
wait.
Thomas Jane
You're telling
cameo.
me- Is Todd Henry Cavill?
What?
No.
Who the
No.
fuck's which Superman?
He was
Brandon
Superman.
Ruth.
He was
Brandon
Superman.
Ruth played Superman in like
Brandon
the early.
Ruth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No. I thought we were
It was
talking
Henry
like,
Cavill before his glow up.
Oh my
No,
god.
because I was talking about how there were so many actors in here who, after this movie, went on to become like really big superhero stars.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was saying.
And then what's his
Like,
name? The
Chris
lead
Evans,
guitarist plays
or-
in Green Room.
Who?
The guitarist of the band. He plays in Green Room.
You're right.
He's in Green
Yeah,
Room. He's
yeah,
in-
yeah, yeah.
But he's like
How are you doing that with your mouth?
Never mind how I'm doing it.
the lead guitarist plays a white supremacist.
That's better. That's
In
in
better.
Green Room.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
can say that and say white supremacists are bad.
You don't want me to say? And then
No,
we'll cut.
no,
And then we'll cut right there.
no.
White supremacists are bad. Rest in peace, Anton Yelchin. Why are you
Also-
laughing?
also
Why are
Green
you
Room.
laughing? Why are
Have
you
seen Green Room,
laughing?
Connor?
No, I
I'm
Anton
so
Yelchin is
confused right
dead.
now. You guys should watch.
I haven't seen that movie. I thought it was just funny though how we're sitting here talking about like. Seriously, we're gonna have to cut out this whole section here. Oh, we gotta move on.
Okay.
Watch
yeah.
Green Room. It's a good movie.
Okay,
Uh,
going back to ranking the evil X's.
3. Good.
Todd is the best. Lucas Lee second best. I stand by that.
I kind of like Matthew Patel.
Matthew Patel, I'm gonna
He's
be
alright.
real with you. He's
He's kind of corny, but like,
he's either second to last or he's third to last.
but he's funny.
Who's last?
The Kageyami twins.
They don't really say anything.
Yeah, they just show up and they're like,
That's the thing. They press a couple keys and they're done. Like that's my issue with them in the movie.
yeah.
And I'm gonna group them because technically even though it's 5 and 6, they showed up as a pair. I'm counting them as a pair. They're at the bottom there. Then I would say either Matthew Patel or and I can never remember her name and I feel bad.
Roxy.
Roxy.
Yeah.
Those two are pretty interchangeable for me at second last, and then in the middle there is Gideon.
Yeah, Gideon's there.
Think
I love
he's a
Jason
cool-
Schwartzman though.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He's great at that role.
He definitely plays a villain.
Yeah.
He plays a fun villain. I think
He's
he should.
definitely a bad guy in the movie.
I don't know why I've thought this, but there's a whole thing. This is a super side tangent, but whenever people bring up fan castings for Batman villains,
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought Jason Schwartzman would play an interesting Mad Hatter,
That'd be very interesting, actually.
like a cool serious take on the Mad Hatter, like a crazy guy who's all about
What
mind
about
control and stuff.
What about if you put the Mad Hatter?
You know what? I didn't think of that. I
That's
like
one,
I like
that's one.
that. I like
there
that.
There we go. We move on. We move forward.
Okay.
So I think it's
Should,
time.
should we start fighting?
Let's start fighting. Okay, so we all have very different opinions. We have Brandon here who has the most minor opinions of rewriting from us, from what I understand. There's me, which I have one major rewrite and a couple minor, and I know you only have major.
Yeah.
So, who do we want to start with?
Let's
Do we want to soften the blows?
Yeah, let's start with what do you feel about this movie,
If
Brandon?
you could rewrite anything, if you could change anything, what'd it be?
I'm gonna be like completely honest. Like
Mhm.
I like watching it again. There's very very little I would change. I would say it's a near perfect movie. Like my only criticism watching some of it is I wish that the script stuck to the comic book like source material a little more, cuz like I feel like at certain points when directors are adapting something from like book or comic book to screen, they tend to not lean into like this like sci-fi elements or like the too fantastical elements of it to try and keep it grounded in realism. But already through the movie, Scott Pilgrim's like throwing like flying punches at these
Scott
dudes
Pilgrim
and
dies
like
at one point and
and
comes
like
back to
and like
life.
With
and
the
like they
one-up
have
that he got.
they have like a whole dragon fighting a monster made with sound waves, but it's too fantastical to have the drummer from Clash of Demon Head have a robot arm. That's too
So,
unreal. That's
I
too
think-
unreal.
I think also there comes a point in time where there's technical limitations on stuff, and I think with all the other like
It's a very
effects-
minor thing, yeah, but
I know, but I feel like maybe especially for the time period when this movie came out. I mean, think about it. It was a lot harder to do like that type of like CGI and like effects like that back then, right?
yeah.
I mean, they'd either have to make the whole actual metal arm, make sure it looks good on camera with lights and everything that they can do CGI on top of it,
Yeah.
or they green screened an arm over him. He wears like a green screen sleeve, but then you mix out the other CGI. Doesn't mix well, mesh well. To an extent, I think I agree. There are times when it's like, come on, stick to the source material. But I think there's also technical limitations when it comes to stuff like that,
Yeah.
as well as budgeting. Right, like what's gonna look like way cooler on the screen, a drummer with a metal arm, or two fucking like animals made out of sound waves beating the living shit out of each other.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real. I'm picking the sound wave animals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like again, this is like a really minor thing because
Exactly.
the drummer from Clash of Demon Head, she's in the movie maybe like I would say like a minute and a half or 2 minutes, and
has
she
no lines.
she has no lines.
whatsoever.
And like again, I'm just like throwing out an example of like
Mhm.
a place where they could have been a little bit more comic book accurate, just to like stick to the source material. But
Yeah.
like for the most part, like I really do enjoy this movie. Like
There's like nothing you would change with like any type of like restructuring or character arcs or pacing or anything.
I feel like no, like I really do like the pacing. I think I mean, I do wish that we spent a little bit more time with each ex. I feel like I feel like an ex is introduced and then within like a minute and a half they're gone.
Yeah,
in
and I
the
feel like it's
movie.
also case by case. Like I feel like you spend way more time, especially with Todd, but that's also just because you have Envy there, you know.
Yeah.
And so like that, obviously you're gonna spend more time with that because you need Scott to be there to, you know, really see like how all the fame and shit has changed his ex, and you know, help him realize maybe he also isn't the best person.
Yeah.
I think that's very
Actually,
important, and I think that's why you spend more time with him versus someone like the Kageyami twins again.
yeah, very big rewrite just came into my head though. But like one thing I would say, again sticking to my guns with like keeping it comic book accurate.
Yes.
I wish that Scott Pilgrim as a character was more accurate to the comic books. In the comic books, he's kind of like a cocky jerk, and he's like really funny. And in the movie, he's just awkward Michael Cera, which is like fine. I love awkward Michael Cera. I think it still works in this movie.
I don't.
But
I just don't love it.
But I would think it would be a little bit funnier if Scott Pilgrim was like this cocky jerk, because he already plays this kind of a character that like, you know, you follow throughout the movie, but if you put his actions on paper, he's maybe not the best person, and he's kind of a dick at times throughout the movie. So it's like I would have liked if they leaned into the comic book of like him being a cocky jerk. You
Yeah.
know?
I can understand that. I also think like like I was saying earlier, I think there's a certain charm where you have awkward Michael Cera play him, especially for a movie like this that's already kind of like quirky, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
You lean into that with Michael Cera being Michael Cera. I think that makes sense. I also think it works very well where you have this like, I like the dynamic when I'm seeing it, and the first thing that I think of when I'm about to say this is the vegan police scene where
Hilarious.
where he first defeats Todd, but he's awkward Michael Cera, trying to be like this confident boyfriend to Ramona, but he's also like, but then he's not. So then you get lines like, once you were a vegan, but now you will be gone.
Yeah.
And then he just goes like, vegan.
But I love it.
Yeah.
Because it's funny. It's like you're watching this dude who's trying to be all like tough and macho, but because he's not, it just comes off so weird, and I love it. It's like some, like, I don't know, that's how I feel personally. I can understand the, make him a cocky jerk, especially with the shit that he does in this movie, because I don't think anyone watching this movie can really sit here and defend Scott. He is a big asshole in the entire movie.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. You got anything else?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. I
Let me
feel
tell
like
you. I have dialogue change as my minor stuff. I just feel like there are at times, like, and I think Michael Cera's dialogue is perfect because you're having an awkward dude play him, have it be awkward. I can't sit here and say I'm in love with every piece of dialogue in this movie and that it's written amazingly. I think there are characters that are written better than others, but I think especially for, like, I guess my one big one, right, is either Lucas Lee or Matthew Patel. Those are like my big two examples of this. I'm just not the biggest fan of their dialogue, given how the actors, like, deliver it.
Yeah.
It's not... I guess the best way to put it is it's not entirely natural to me, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah.
I think dialogue rewrite is one thing I would say for this movie, but that's like my minor critique. My major critique is actually the ending of this movie. I can recognize and I like that, Scott gets his happy ending with Ramona. However, I don't think it's the best ending that could be. And I know the ending that I'm going to say would not go over well with audiences, but I think storytelling-wise, it is the one that needs to happen. I think not only do they need to, like, break up Ramona and Scott because of, like, him cheating or whatever. I think on top of that, they should not get back together by the end. And that I know at one point there was like he was supposed to be with Knives at the end of the movie, right? He shouldn't even be allowed back with her. He should be utterly alone by the end of the movie. That's my big rewrite.
I 100% agree with
because here's my whole thing, and I'm gonna say this as like, I understand that would not go well with audiences, right? Audiences want to see a happy ending, or if you're gonna write a tragedy, give them a tragic ending, right? This is neither. This is just fucking reality in the sense that, from a storytelling perspective, Scott is an asshole. He's a dick. He, first off, starts off the movie and the comic book dating a fucking high schooler. And he's like 22. He's 22 dating a 17-year-old. That's just not right.
It's Canada, bro. The laws are different. It's not
my
weird.
first note here written down is our first intro to our adult protagonist is talking about his child girlfriend.
Literally, Max's page here is Scott Pilgrim versus statutory charges. That's the title for this.
I put titles every time, and like for Thor, I put Thor 2 who turned out the lights.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Because that's what we said that should have been.
And I keep doing silly names sometimes, and that's
it's
my
true.
Silly name for Scott Pilgrim's statutory charges.
So like, think about it. He starts off the movie. You're already introduced to a scumbag who's 22-year-old dating a high schooler, 17-year-old, right? That's not natural.
That'd be like I dated a 17-year-old.
I'm 22.
That's gross.
I don't want to date a 17-year-old. I want to date people my age, right?
Well, yeah, because if you think about it, like at your age, you guys just excuse me. You guys just graduated college, but like that would be the equivalent of you having graduated college and you're dating somebody who's still in high school. Yeah. Which is like kind of weird. Yeah. That's not normal. That's not a normal thing.
But I mean, even beyond that, you're quickly introduced to the fact that he is the biggest scumbag on planet Earth because he then, without telling Knives, without breaking up with Knives, and without restraining himself, immediately goes on a date with Ramona and tries to sleep with her on the first date, right? And when that doesn't work out, they go on a second date because they don't sleep with each other, right? Oh, cool. So now you're cheating on Knives. What a grade A asshole. And then they don't even get into in the movie what he did with Kim, and I don't even know what he did with Kim that like made her hate him. But it's just clear to me he is the biggest dick known to man. Not to mention they clearly say to him every fucking time during practice, "No girlfriends, no girlfriends." What does he do? Brings the fucking girlfriend.
Yeah, and there's
Furthermore, it's not even like he brings the girlfriend to sit in on the practice every time. He brings the girlfriend and then goes, "Yeah, Neil knows my part. See ya." He doesn't even fucking practice with his band.
Yeah.
And speaking from someone who's in a band, it's important to practice with your band, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Cool. So what the fuck is his problem?
Yeah.
Not to mention, anytime they're forced to go to a show, it's not because he wants to go. It's not because he wants to play. It's because he wants to impress Ramona. Or Ramona will be there. That's just fucking narcissistic. This dude is literally a grade A asshole, right? A1 asshole sauce.
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve a happy ending. For all intents of storytelling, he deserves a punishment. And that punishment for him should be that he doesn't get either girl. He ends up alone. I'm a firm believer in punishments that are fair to the character and what they've done, right? It's not like he's done something completely immoral where I'm like, he has to die, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are times when a character, I think in a movie should die. I think in a movie needs to die for the stuff that they've done. It's kind of like that karma, you know? You did this fucked up thing, you need to get punished. What's your punishment? Death. Not this movie. He doesn't deserve that. But he doesn't deserve to get either girl.
Yeah.
And even in the comic book, like you were saying at some point, right? Like it's more ambiguous if they end up together.
It feels a little bit less happy from what I remember. It feels less happy in the
He shouldn't
comic.
even get that ambiguous ending. He should just not be with her.
Yeah.
That is my that is my major rewrite for this movie. I still love the movie. I still would watch it time in, time out. I mean, I've expressed to you both on multiple occasions. As a filmmaker, this movie is quintessential as an influence to like what I aspire to be as a director, as a, for a style, right? I love the style of this movie. It's so unique and it inspires me to want to capture something that could even be remotely like as unique as this movie. But that fucking ending pisses me off. It's never sat right with me.
I just don't like Scott at all.
Yeah.
But like, that ruins the whole movie for me.
That he's an asshole?
No, it's not just that he's an asshole. There's just no redeeming qualities about him, and the story is about him, so it ruins the story. That's my big thing about this movie. 99% of what I've written are complaints about Scott and why I can't stand him as a character. Like, okay, I wrote, maybe I could get Scott manipulating knives if he had always had trouble with girls. And he learns it's effed up that he's been like manipulating her and finds confidence to win an adult girlfriend. But he has had multiple exes his age. Like, it's not like he's had trouble with girls. There's no reason for him to have to manipulate a child.
I'm reading one of your notes here. I just like it says YouTuber comedy.
Oh yeah, some of the comedy I was like, this is like the comedy that I see in a lot of YouTube videos with the editing style and like quick paced reaction to stuff. Not terrible, but
here's the thing: you also gotta think this movie came out before that type of like editing YouTube came out. You could argue this movie had an influence on that type of stuff.
You could argue YouTube comedy has Scott Pilgrim comedy. I agree with you. Anyways, then I wrote, dude, Ramona, run. So apparently everyone knows that Scott is a kind of a loser and that Ramona is apparently a heartthrob. Everyone loves. Why is this believable? Why, like in the party scene where he's like trying to gather information on Ramona, everyone's like, dude, she's like she's like a myth and a legend. Like she's like everyone's talking so highly of her, and apparently everyone knows that like
she got some battle scars, dude.
That apparently like everyone also knows how everyone knows that about her. It seems like everyone kind of knows that like Scott sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like I don't believe
Julie fucking hates him.
It's so funny.
Rightfully so.
I love Julie.
Like I don't. It's like not only is this character kind of like annoying to have to deal with for a feature length amount of time, I don't believe the romance at all. there's not a single thing that happens that makes me go, yeah, she should fall for this guy, other than the fact that she's had a bad pattern of having evil exes.
Yeah.
I think the last note I wrote here is I said, it is sad Scott is her nicest ex.
I was about to say, yes. How do you feel about him being her nicest?
Like, because they say that, like, right at the end when they're
Yeah.
leaving from the Gideon's place and whatnot.
If it makes you feel any better, you're my nicest ex.
Yeah. And I was just like, that's sad. This is sad. Ramona is a tragic character.
Oh my God.
This is a character study into like tragic characters. I wrote Scott wants to cheat Pilgrim. Then the next note I wrote was Scott has cheated Pilgrim.
Nice.
I said I'd rather watch Knives battle Scott for Ramona than Scott be on screen anymore. Then I wrote there's no charisma to Scott. Even his most attractive quality of performing, he's stiff and boring. Fuck Scott. Then I put Scott is upset at Ramona for changing her hair. He's literally lied to her and cheated with her. He gets like upset, like there's like she changes her hair
And he gets worked up about it.
He's like, whoa, what's that? And she's like, dude, I change my hair like all the time. Get used to it. And then he like has multiple conversations with his friends about it. He's like, can I trust a girl like this and stuff? Like she's so
spontaneous.
And stuff. I was like, spontaneous, dude. You haven't even broken up with your first girlfriend yet. What do you mean spontaneous?
He has to break up with his fake high school girlfriend.
And then
I just keep throwing references out there.
What?
I just keep throwing references through the movie.
So good. There's so many good references.
There's like so many quotable things from that movie.
That's true. I mean, it's fun. It's quotable. I hate the character. I hate the main character. I hate him so much. And like, that's a good testament to writing a character that is a bad person, but it shouldn't be the main character where you have to root for them.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to have a main character that's like someone that is like a bad person. I mean, Joker exists and that made $1 billion. But he's literally fighting other evil characters and you're supposed to root for him to win and you want him to win.
Okay, well, hold on.
He's just straight up abusive to Ramona.
I'm not saying that Scott is a good person and he's deserving of your sympathy because, no, he is straight up abusive. He's not a good person. However, if we're talking characters that are bad, that are fighting arguably more evil characters than the main character, and you want to, fuck yeah, and you want to root for the character, you're acting like it can't be done, motherfucker. Breaking Bad, Walter White. You cannot say he is a good person. That's the point
of the story, though.
It's
to watch the downfall. I'm
but
not
the
like,
thing is,
by
season
Walter just
2,
killed people.
By season 2, end of season 2, that man is not a good person, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not a good person by the end of like episode 1.
Okay. So we can agree on that.
Yeah.
So why do you want to keep watching this person who's not a good person and has arguably no redeeming qualities about him? The fact that he's lying to his wife and son and abusive to his wife even in season 1, right? Mm-hmm. Fighting arguably more evil dudes such as Crazy 8, such as
Tuco.
Gus. Tuco.
You say it like that.
It's fun.
It's just, it doesn't work here because it's supposed to be like a fun thing to cheer for.
But let me ask then. I just want to know how much of this. I don't mean to keep saying this, and you can deny it all you want, but I know it's true because you've talked to me multiple times. How much of this is your bias against Michael Cera talking?
I don't think I have that much of a bias against Michael Cera. I keep saying that. Cera anymore. I used to really
Brandon,
not
back
like
me
him.
up here. He has such a big bias.
Yeah,
against him.
I know you weren't the biggest
But I
fan
feel
of
like
him.
even if you recasted him to someone else, but if you kept a lot of this the same, like a lot of the dialogue stuff, like he constantly is complaining to Ramona, like making it this fall. I'm like, Ramona doesn't just have 7 evil exes. She has like 7 horrific abusive exes that are trying to control her life. It's not just like, oh, these are exes that she's like, you need to prove your worth by fighting them. They literally, their goal is they say, we want to control her love life. Like Chris Evans says that at one point. It's like, that's not her fault. Yeah. Ramona doesn't do a single bad thing in this movie, but she's constantly made to feel bad by Scott. Scott is just an abusive asshole.
Again, I agree. But I want to argue again how much of this is the performance and how much of this is the writing.
I don't think the performance helps. Okay. I think if someone else, but even if someone else did this, like, because the awkwardness and whatnot is is redeemable if there's some charm to him, if he's doing good things, but there's none of that either.
I'd argue that charm doesn't have to equal good things though.
But wait, doesn't he get the power of self-respect by the end of the movie?
Yeah, I don't care at that point. He dated a high schooler. I'm already like, fuck this guy. The power of self-respect. How about the power of like immunity against statutory laws?
Yeah.
That's what he should earn and figure out.
Do you think they got a sword for that?
It's a gavel. Or preferably handcuffs.
Oh my god.
I also put.
I really don't like this movie. Wow.
And then I put here too, because there's a part where Scott says like, he says something like, how many? Is there anyone in this town you haven't slept with, or something like that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? Because I was like, literally at that point, I'm pretty sure we were only at Evil X4. Like that was after the girl character. I'm like, she literally admitted to how she didn't do anything beyond kissing with the first 3. At this point, you only know of one person she slept with.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, implied it's the Roxy. You don't even know for sure if she has slept with Roxy.
Yeah.
It's just like I feel like I could have liked this more if what Brandon said, they stuck a little bit more towards like the comics and made him like somewhat.
So, but again, I want to also argue how I'm not saying again, he's not a redeemable character.
No.
I completely agree. He is the biggest asshole. I've went through this too. You know, he's a womanizing asshole who gaslights and manipulates Ramona every step of the way. Right? Cheats and also lies to Knives the entire thing. I want to argue again. They can sit here and make him more confident, sure. But I'm trying to think of dialogue and everything. And I'm trying to think of character interactions. And I want to argue again. How much of this is Michael Cera performing it awkwardly? And how much of it is it's actually written to be played awkwardly?
A performance of a statutory predator is still.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how you were saying if they stuck more to the like cocky asshole, right? How much of that is actually something that they wrote, this is going to be played as an awkward character where he's not going to be the cocky asshole, and how much of this is Michael Cera playing the character as awkward and not cocky asshole?
None of the writing feels like that to me.
Yeah, I don't think so.
A lot
either.
of the writing feels very awkward and
Yeah.
like there's not a lot of confidence. I mean, like he constantly brings up the Pac-Man thing, which like I kind of just remember being like, that's a good example of a person who doesn't know how to have like a normal conversation.
Yeah, and he
Like,
also
he just
there's
starts
multiple.
You
off
could still
talking
be a
about Pac-Man
cocky
all of a sudden.
asshole though and have social anxiety.
Yeah,
know?
but like there's like multiple times throughout the movie where he like stumbles on his words or like he'll just say something really awkward. Like there's that one scene where
I love
he sees
you.
yeah, I'm in Lesbians with You, or like
I
when
gotta
he
pee on her.
sees Knives is with young Neil, he's like, oh, I'm thinking I either gotta pee or like who, her? And then he's like, I gotta pee on her.
Yeah, I gotta pee on her.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think there's a lot of moments where they definitely went for like the awkwardness, and
Okay, so then in that case, then sure, I could agree. I do think though, yes, maybe some of the writing, but I do think a big portion of this is the fact that Michael Cera, the awkward white boy god, is playing.
I could honestly say I could honestly see it though that it wasn't originally like that, but they got Michael Cera to sign on, and they went, oh well, let's maybe play that up a little bit because he's good at that.
And I think like again, like I think a lot of people don't fully realize this within, you know, from a third person in this industry too. Like when an actor plays a role, it's not just, oh, let me read the script and then act out the lines how they're written. Like there's a lot of times the actor actually has to take preparation into crafting the character's personality and stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of prep that goes into being an actor that I don't think people entirely realize, and so I also think it's very simple to take the shortcut and say, oh, well, this is the writing, this is the directing.
Mm-hmm.
But then I like to take a step back on that and always say, well, is it, or is it maybe the way the character was prepped by the actor? And I don't think, like, yes, I do think there are points within the
it's a
script,
split
especially when you're talking
thing.
visual gags like you were saying with
Yeah.
I gotta pee and I gotta go talk to her, and the middleman reaches or whatever. That's definitely a visual gag that's meant to be played awkward.
Yeah.
But I also think it doesn't help that you're getting the most awkward actor in all of Hollywood to do it.
Yeah, I think I don't blame. I don't put most of the blame on Michael Cera. I think I put most of the blame probably on the more executive people that would make the choices, and that which would be a lot of the executive producers and producers behind these choices. And obviously Edgar Wright does have a lot to do with it. And I think Edgar Wright did a great job with directing the action and the style of this movie, because without him you wouldn't have 90% of what is good about this movie.
Yeah.
But I think it was I don't think Michael Cera is a bad person or a bad actor. I've seen him in a lot of good stuff. There was a little short film recently, I can't remember what it was, but he plays a character in a wheelchair that I saw recently, and I thought it was really good.
He's in Twin Peaks.
Is he in Twin Peaks?
For like 5 minutes.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Plays Wally.
I just don't think he's right for Scott Pilgrim.
Sorry,
that scene is so good.
Remembering Wally.
That is such a good scene. Oh my god.
I think he's great in Arrested Development. If you've ever seen him in
Twin
that.
Peaks.
I haven't seen it. I can't talk about it.
He's really great in Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Have you seen
Wally?
Arrested Development?
No, have you seen Twin Peaks?
No. But I don't know. I don't think he's a great fit for this. Or you just tell him, like, listen, I like your choices with the character and stuff, but I don't think it's working for the story that we're trying to tell. And I think you need to adjust it and the performance.
I can agree with that.
I'm not necessarily saying a recast would fix all the problems.
But I do think that would also help alleviate a lot of your problems that you have.
Probably.
With and that's what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm not saying that it's all, on Michael Cera. And I'm not trying to invalidate your criticisms or anything. But I do think a good portion of that is also, look who's playing the lead.
I will say, at one point, I think the lead guitarist might be a better Scott.
Really?
Because I've seen him in a couple other things. I don't remember the actor's name, but I've seen him in a couple other things. I think he's a good enough actor, and he does do some awkwardness and like self-confidence issues. Because there's like a lot of times where like, oh my god, we're gonna suck when like they like see the other bands and whatnot. And he has like freakouts and anxiety like that, and he's constantly worrying about the battle of the bands and stuff.
Yeah.
But he also like has a lot of charm to him, and he has confidence, especially in his performance in the Battle of the Bands and whatnot. And his character's not on it a lot, so I can't necessarily say, oh, for sure he'd be better. Yeah. But there were a couple points where watching this movie, I was like, I kind of wonder what it would be like if maybe he was casted as Scott instead.
But might I argue that he was already the perfect casting for Steven Stills? Because I think he was perfect in that casting.
Well, yeah.
He was great.
I think
I thought he was
I'm just trying to
great.
Think of other people.
Yeah.
But because honestly, when I think, oh, should it be recasted from Michael Cera, I don't know who it would suit. Who would suit it better?
Now, I was gonna say, I actually just thought of one more thing to go along with my dialogue rewrite. When I was rewatching this movie the other day, I did not realize. Look, I'm trying to remember this is also a product of a different time.
Yeah.
But I did not realize some of the language that was in this movie. That, like, some of it caught me off guard when I heard it. Like, I actually had to, like, go, oh, did I hear that right? And I had to, like, rewind a couple seconds. Like, the amount of times I heard the R slur for, like, the ableist one. I heard that, like, at least 3 times in this movie.
Also,
I was like, whoa.
Scott is, like, a little weirded out by Roxy. And I was almost like...
Oh, yeah. It's like, he's homophobic.
Is he homophobic?
Yeah,
I forgot I wrote that, like, when I was talking about... how he's overreacting and slut-shaming Ramona. I forgot to read the rest of it. I put at the end, and is Scott a homophobe?
Well, like, I don't know. But I was going to say, like, there's the clear-cut, R words that they threw in. There's, like, 3 of them from what I remember. Maybe 2, maybe less. But they were in there a couple times. More than once, I will say. There was just the whole... going actually real quick to your line, it felt like the as much as I love Wallace, I think he's hilarious.
Yeah.
I do think sometimes the gay end of this movie, not just Wallace, but also like anything to do with the LGBT community, was also a butt of a joke a lot. I'm in lesbians with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I get the
Like
whole
Wallace
idea is
always
that
sleeping with
Wallace,
like different people in the
I'm
same
gonna
bed.
be real. That was the funniest thing. Every time they went to the bed to like, sit up, it was
Dude,
like him. Then it was just him and his
my-
boyfriend
my-
and Scott. Then it
my
was him, his
favorite
boyfriend,
point-
and then his sister's boyfriend and Scott. That was always so funny to me. I
My-
love that guy.
My favorite part was like, I know we were just talking about like the like semi like homophobic jokes, but this like semi homophobic joke I thought was like fucking hilarious because it was like right after Ramona's like talking to Scott like
Mhm.
over some coffee. It was like right after Envy like showed up at the coffee shop and they're like talking, and then she says something
Yeah.
like, "Oh, like I'm just thinking about how warm my place is," and then it cuts to like Scott in bed with like Wallace and the boyfriends, and then other Scott's like, "And you didn't bang her? What are you, gay?"
That is great. I remember that line too. I think that one's funny. I will say, Wallace is my favorite character,
Wallace
Wallace is
is easily the
fucking
best.
and I
great.
think
character.
I agree with you. I think unfortunately there is a lot of moments where like being gay is the butt of a joke. I think
I
Wallace's
think he's one of the
best
few
moments.
times that he's not the butt of the joke. I feel like he makes his
he
gayness-
is like he
his
is making the
gayness
jokes.
makes everyone else the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
I feel like.
And I will say, I think Wallace's moments where he shines the most is where, being gay doesn't have anything to do with it. It has to do with his character, but like when he's just like yelling at Scott and being like, "Scott, you're an idiot."
Yeah.
Also, I mean, it might just be because I hate the character of Scott Pilgrim, because like I don't
those
love the
moments
comic
are
book
funny,
version
like,
of him
especially
either.
when they're
But
when the first one when Matthew Patel shows up and he's yelling at him, he's like, "Hey, kick his ass!"
Yeah.
Or like
It's not a
with
race,
Luke Lee.
guys.
I
Is
also
that
love
girl
when,
a boy too?
with Lucas Lee too. I just love when Lucas Lee like first starts walking over towards Scott Manson. He goes, "Hey Scott, Evil X,
Fight."
Oh my god, he's so
Kieran
good.
Culkin is great.
Now, the other thing, and this is my last thing dialogue wise that I think needs to be changed. The one that caught me the most off guard was Gideon at the end, like final battle when Knives comes in.
Oh, I know
That
exactly what you're talking
Caught
about.
me
What did you
so
say?
off guard. I had to rewind that not once,
Yeah.
not twice, 3 times. I was in
What
that
did he
much
say?
disbelief.
It says Kung
He-
Pao
he
something.
said-
He's just Kung Pao chicken or something like
He-
that. Like
he-
something kind of
like,
racist.
She said something like, "I'm going to, kill you for trying to kill Scott." And he goes, "All right, calm down, Kung Pao chicken."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
I think Todd straight up punching the highlights out of Knives' hair was less offensive than,
Yeah.
than him saying that.
I thought, first off, that's a great way to show your moral high grounds of the characters, because though Scott's an asshole, he at least won't beat up a woman.
Yeah.
Whereas Todd's like, "I'm a rock star. I beat up women."
And he's also like, I'm vegan. I can get away with it.
Yeah, but
I'm a vegan.
first off, it's a good moral standard to show, like, this guy, like, yeah, Scott's an asshole, but this guy's bad, But I also think the visual gag of it, that he punches her so hard, the highlights get knocked out of her hair. That's such a good visual gag.
Yeah.
Originally in the comic, that's the drummer.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
the one who does it, and she does
The
it
one
with her
with the
robot
ro-
arm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like that would have been something cool to see, right? Like that would have been such a cool thing to see live action, I feel like. But like I also understand why they had Todd do it, because I guess it like furthered the plot in a way that made more sense, but like dude,
I know.
robot arms are fucking cool.
I will say, though, like, the one thing this movie shines in is its, like, visual gags. And, like, I've actually looked to this movie for inspiration on script writing for visual gags. Like, I've looked at the script, studied it, like, certain visual gags where, like, text appears on the screen or whatever.
Nerd.
Yeah, I am a fucking nerd for this movie. It's a great movie.
Well, I was gonna say, aside from visual gags, like this movie has a lot of really great visual storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I really am a big fan of the shots where like, there's one shot I really like where it's like after, I think it's after Scott like fights Lucas and beats him, where he's like talking to Wallace about the 7 X's and like I think this is after the knife scene where he jumps out the window and he's like walking, and then you see the shot that I really like where it shows like 2 X's on the side and it's like oh, there's 2 X's down, and then the 5 are like still up there. Like, oh,
Yeah,
those
yeah,
are
yeah.
still the players in the
crossing
game.
symbols.
Yeah, like those are still kind of the players in the game. And then there's like that also that imagery of him taking the
The
X-Men patch off of his jacket.
Mm-hmm.
And then like at one point in the movie, also like right around the time where he first has that vision of Ramona, there's like that scene of him walking through like cross in path of snow.
Yeah.
And like there's just a lot of cool visual storytelling that like, you know, watching this as a kid, like I didn't pick up on it, but like
But now you can
having
look at it and
rewatched it so many
appreciate it
times,
more.
yeah. Having rewatched it so many times now, like it's stuff that you pick up on and it adds to the storytelling a lot. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think like I said, like I think the general sentiment overall is this is a good story, except Scott's an asshole.
And I think it needs to be toned down. I also feel like they tried to make Ramona like also flawed,
Mm-hmm.
but it just came off as Scott being abusive to her. And I think if you gave Ramona actual flaws
Mm-hmm.
beyond, she has exes that abuse her and she dyes her hair too often, like do something that is actually a little bit like worse. I think.
You think maybe she dyes her hair too often because her love life is controlled by her ex, and she wants control of something once in her life, so maybe she wants to control.
That's what I'm saying though, because like Scott gets upset at that.
Oh, I know.
And it's like, why are you upset? I think that's you're right. That's a great. That's a great
literally
point.
like, and so that's an actual flaw where she has the type of self-confidence that she wants to be in control sign for once.
And might I say, Mary Elizabeth Winstead does look good in all those colors of hair. So, Scott Pilgrim was capping.
That's true.
Dude.
Scott Pilgrim
He
do
was-
be capping.
He do be capping.
I don't know. I think tone down Scott, maybe even the playing field, and maybe make Ramona also somewhat flawed. Not like actually flawed. Still have her be the better character. And yeah, make him actually learn. Also, I put down here, Nega Scott was like wasted.
I agree.
'Cause
I
he was.
fucking agree.
It's like a
I like the-
self-discovery part in the comic, and it comes
Yeah.
before Gideon.
Yeah.
And it just kind of was like, I get why they put it in. It was just like a quick reference. They're like, hey, we don't have time to put this in. We're just throwing this in.
But
there.
I also
Thought
think,
it would've
like,
been
as
really
much as I
cool.
would have wished to have more of that, because I think you could have done so many cool, interesting things with that, of, like you were saying, self-discovery. I mean, he had just learned the power of self-respect and got the sword for that and all that, right? And then he could do the self-discovery, and in that, I think he would have been able to see, I'm an asshole and I don't deserve these people, you know? I think that's truly how it should have gone down, or could have gone down.
Yeah.
But I will say, for what it is, I do like the kind of gag where like they walk out of the venue and he's like, "Oh yeah, he's actually a really nice guy. We're going to get brunch next Sunday."
Yeah.
Like I think that's funny.
And
Where
I
it's like
think
we
that could
actually have a
totally
lot
still
in
be in
common.
it. I think there should just still be something where he really faces himself
Yeah.
a little bit more during or before the final fight, and then you could still have that gag at the end where because it's literally him coming. And I get it is what happens in the movie. He comes to terms with his darker self and his like more evil tendencies.
You just
And
don't see it.
Yeah.
It becomes just the gag, and I wish there was just a little bit more to it.
Well, I do think it is funny though, and I guess you could argue there's a little bit more to it than just the gag, because there is the line, and even if it is a throwaway line and it is kind of gaggy, but where he goes like, "Yeah, we actually have a lot more in common than I thought."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no shit. He's like the darker part of you, so he's like half of you.
Yeah.
So I think like that's interesting. You know, like it's like you're still kind of acknowledging he's confronting his demons, but also it's like a funny gag. I fucks with it. I don't know.
I will say.
No.
Okay.
All right, guys, podcast is over.
I will say.
Yeah.
This is by far not my favorite Edgar Wright movie.
Yeah.
But I think that this movie helped him fucking crush
Baby Driver.
Baby Driver.
Baby Driver.
Baby Driver has all the aspects that I love about Scott Pilgrim. I will say a lot more dumbed down and subtle, and like a lot more subtle. in
Yeah.
it. And there's like more seamless integration. I feel like it's not as in your face. It's a lot like because it's not a video game comic book style. It's just straight up like fun heist movie. But
Yeah.
like there's like such amazing details in Baby Driver. Like the heart graffiti is pointed out all the time and everything. That I feel like is very Scott Pilgrim in the way that it's stylized. And I think that if Scott Pilgrim was never made, Baby Driver probably would have still been made, but I don't think it would
Not
have
with
been
the style.
made nearly as well.
Yeah.
I love Baby Driver. That's a great movie.
And it's a great movie about like rhythm and music, because I mean that's how that character can drum out the pain and noise of his life is through music. So the whole movie is edited and moved and paced to music and the soundtrack. And
It
it's
is really
such a
awesome.
great movie. And I noticed a lot of that type of feel in this, because this movie's also about music. It's about like the battle of the bands and
Which,
everything.
might
It's
I
like a
add,
subplot.
I love the soundtrack for this movie.
Oh, this movie's soundtrack is amazing.
What is the intro song?
Threshold.
Threshold.
No, that plays when they're fighting the
Oh, you're
Kadianagi twins.
But Threshold, that song. I like
That's
that
a good
song a lot.
song,
I think that's
yeah.
probably my favorite Sex Bomb song.
Yeah.
And then I mean, come on. Black Sheep. Brie
Black
Larson.
Sheep, Brie Larson is
She
amazing.
can sing it to me anytime she wants. Brie,
Yeah.
let me know.
Trying to sing me a lullaby?
Brie, I will. Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, no, and I know I think Beck did either. I don't know if Beck did all of the soundtrack or if
I
he
know
did
Beck was
most of
involved,
it.
But I don't
Yeah.
remember to what extent.
Yeah, but I love that soundtrack.
Hell yeah. So, I think we're at that
I,
time.
well, actually, I have a question, too. Are we going to rate the movie?
I was going to ask that, yeah.
Okay, well, let's do that first, actually.
All right. Rate the movie. Do we want to go same way we started with criticism?
Out of
Yeah,
what?
well, out of 10.
Out of 10?
Out of 10, what would you rate it?
Are we going points too?
You can, yeah. You can do
we
0.5 if you're
usually
stuck
do
in between.
0.5s.
Okay, I'll do like 8.5.
I knew he was going to say that. I knew he was going to say that. As soon as he said 0.5, I was like, see, he was going to say 9, but he thought that was just a bit too much, so he's going to downgrade it to 8.5. I knew it. I knew it.
What do you think I'm going to say?
You're going to say 9.5.
No.
You're going to say 10?
Nope.
9.
8.
Whoa, I didn't expect
Like
that.
I said, I love this movie, and I think it's a masterclass in style and direction, but that ending could have
Not the best writing.
Could have
is
stuck
what
it
you're
better.
saying. And I that was my... I mean, mostly this is complaints about the main character.
Mhm.
There's not really a whole lot of ways to rewrite it other than to tone down some of his performance and
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
and then
change it.
But then that's
But
so,
I
that-
100%
there's so much
agree
on
with
the-
you. If I were to rewrite
Mhm.
something about this movie, is
It's
he doesn't
the
end up
ending.
with
He
either of
doesn't
them.
deserve either girl, and I think the way you can achieve that again is through Nega Scott.
And I also think the whole idea of him achieving self-respect is he kind of realizes, like, oh, you know what? Not only do I need to do growing, but I realized I hurt these people. They need to do their own growing. And, like,
Yeah.
I don't even think he should go for either of them. I think it would be interesting if they...
It's kind of
I
like
think
they're
it'd be,
walking away and he's like stagnant, like letting them leave.
or how... I think it would be kind of funny if how Knives was like, go to Ramona. I think it'd be funny if Knives was like, go to Ramona, and Ramona was like, go to Knives. Like, they were both like, yeah, go for the other one.
Yeah.
And then he kind of realizes, like, oh, you know what? I don't deserve either of you, because obviously neither of you want me.
and
from my
also
mistakes.
they're too good for him.
I think
What would you rate out of 10?
this is hard.
I think I know what you give it.
What do you think I'm gonna give it?
7.5.
See, I'm stuck between 6 and 5 right now, or 6 and 7. Sorry,
Wow.
not 5. Sorry,
Okay.
6.
Either way.
Because my brain was saying, oh, between 6 and 7 is 6.5, so that's why I said 5. And I think I love a lot of it. It's just I can't get past the main character, which I used to blame a lot on Michael Cera before I got really into film, like back in high school, and stuff. But I don't blame Michael Cera. I think it's a lot of choices people made together, so I blame everybody.
Hell yeah.
No, but I
He
don't
said,
know.
"Hell yeah."
I think I'll give
Everyone's
it
at fault.
a good
yeah.
6 point.
6.5. We don't do anything but 0.5s on this channel.
3.
No.
6.3.
6 or 6.5?
I'm so stuck.
Choose.
I'll say 6.5 because
Cool.
yeah, because
So
that's
this is a
basically how
weird
many.
one.
That's how many X's there are. Because the twins kind of count as one, but they're not one, so it's 6.5.
No, the twins are each individual persons.
Are they?
Yeah.
Are they written like that? Are they written like that, Brandon?
I mean, kind of.
Could one person have done their part?
I mean, yeah.
See?
Doing the mental math, we're somewhere between 7 and 8 with this average.
I'll trust you. We'll do. You know
It's
what?
like 7
because of
point
the
something.
X's. 7.
Ooh, there we go. This doesn't help.
No, if we actually average it together, it'd probably be closer to 7.5. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. What I was gonna ask next was, what is your guys' favorite Edgar Wright movie? Because I think while I did complain a lot about this movie, Edgar Wright's genuinely one of my favorite directors and like creative minds. And I wasn't necessarily even the biggest fan of Last Night in Soho, but that's not to say there weren't amazing concepts, and that's not to say I'm less excited to see what he does next. Edgar Wright is still one of my favorite creators. I think I don't love every choice he makes, but I don't love anybody's artistry 100%. Mm-hmm. So, Baby Driver's probably still my number one.
I know I just sang really high praises of Baby Driver, but it's Scott Pilgrim.
See, I'm kind of in the middle because I do like Baby Driver more, but at the same time, I think I enjoy watching Scott Pilgrim more just because I have the added nostalgia of, like, I grew up, like, watching that movie a lot and, like, playing the video game as well. Like, I played the video game all the time with my cousins. So, like, I think while I do think Baby Driver is the better movie, I oftentimes will probably resort to watching Scott Pilgrim more if I had the option between the two.
I also think this. I'm trying to think, like, beyond just what is my favorite movie from him. Again, like, what one am I going to watch more? I think Scott Pilgrim has a bit more replayability for me than Baby Driver. So I think Baby Driver is great. I love the soundtrack. I love the acting. I love everything about it, right? This movie, for its problems that I have with it still, it's just fun. And that's not saying Baby Driver isn't fun, but Baby Driver is the fun where it's like, I'm not like the most big into heist movies.
There are also some like kind of downer moments.
Oh,
shout out the set falling apart.
Shout out to the ghost.
But no, I mean Scott Pilgrim. It's just
it was the Parasite book and like something else on the second shelf.
The top shelf fell. I see.
I'll worry about it later.
But I don't know. I just feel like this movie as a whole just is a lot more fun, and even if it is dumb fun at times, or it is kind of like stupid jokes or shit, I'll rewatch it because it's funny.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I'll rewatch. Like I will say, I think I've seen this movie a total of 3 times. I watched it a long time ago, which made me read the comic, and then it had been a while, and then I think I watched it with you, Brandon. And it was probably like a bunch of us were hanging out and we watched it, and then I think the second time I watched it, I went, I don't like this movie as much, and then rewatching it this time, I still don't love it. I don't hate it. I don't know where I was going with this, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I get it.
I have not watched this movie a lot, was my whole thing. I've only seen it 3 times, which to some people is a lot, but I'm just saying I've only seen it 3 times. But the clash at Demon Head.
Yes.
Their intro with Black Sheep, that scene and sequence I have watched. Stop playing footsies with me, Connor. I have watched that so many times. Like I will just like when I remember it, I'll look it up on YouTube and watch that scene because
they have the full song on YouTube too.
That's so good. I think actually for the 10th anniversary of this movie, they released the soundtrack on.
You're talking about the vinyl?
No, they released the soundtrack on Spotify too.
They released a vinyl too.
Black Sheep. Black Sheep's on Spotify now.
It's been on Spotify for a while.
It just got released for their 10th anniversary the other year.
You know what it was? I think I was listening to the original band that wrote it, not Brie Larson's cover.
Yeah, Brie Larson's cover is finally on Spotify.
They released a vinyl edition for the soundtrack of the movie, but it's like really expensive.
I think he wants you to take his hand.
I will take your hand.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I would kumbaya this, but
my lord.
Then I was
just gonna say, I like that scene. I love the editing of that scene. I love the energy of that scene. I love the acting in that scene and the pacing, the emotion, the everything. I think that scene is perfect. There's not a single thing I would change about that scene.
The Brie Larson one?
Yeah, where they're singing Black Sheep.
In Room?
Yeah, in Room.
No, I love that scene. I also I will say like with the added like context of like me being in a band, I do appreciate a little bit more like some of the band humor. Like I love the scene where they do play at Lee's Palace, like they're opening
Mhm.
for Scott's ex's band, and
Yeah.
like right after they play, Steven's just like, "Do we suck? Do we suck? Like, do we sound like shit?" And it's like, yeah, I've had times where like, that's me, and like,
Yeah,
those are my
When I was at your
bandmates.
show,
Like,
you were like, man, we kind of sucked, but it was like, whatever. We played our best, and I was like, dude, you were like,
did we suck? We totally
way
sucked.
better than the other band that played that I saw,
Yeah,
and like there was way more interaction with your band and stuff. So like, I've seen it in action.
I've seen you in action, Connor.
Whoa!
Whoa!
This is a
Cut that
this is
out.
a G-rated
Cut
show.
that out. Cut that out.
Do you wanna
Just registered.
cut that? Have either of you listened to the Always Sunny podcast?
I have not yet.
They're like catchphrases. Cut that, because they'll like someone will say something kind of yikes, and then they'll just go like cut that. And oh my god, they made a hoodie. I want it so bad. It has their logo of the Always Sunny podcast is the three of them, but with specific costumes. Mac has the Nightman. Charlie has the American badass
one.
and then Dennis is the sex doll.
Oh my god.
And it has that logo up here.
Yeah.
It's just the three heads, and then on the back it just says cut that.
That's
awesome.
And then it's like yellow. Because, you know, it's Always Sunny.
Clean.
And I saw that and I was like, ooh, how much is it? And I was like, oh, I can't afford it.
How much is
$60.
it?
It's like $60. It's like a regular hoodie that you get online. It's like $60, or I think.
Hoodies
something
are
like
so
that.
expensive, man.
I
They're
saw it and
so
I was like,
comfy.
oh, I want
Yeah.
it so bad. Because I've nonstop listened to that podcast.
It's
so
a good ass podcast.
If anyone's a fan of podcasts and Always Sunny,
if you're listening to this podcast, you're a fan of podcasts specifically about TV shows and movies. Check out the It's Always Sunny podcast. It's
yeah,
great.
and you know what? They really need the promo. They really need
They
it.
really do. Thank
From
God
a
they
big
have,
time creator like us.
Thank God they have us, those small time people. I wonder if their TV
No,
shows
big
ever
time.
going to take
We're
off.
big time. They're
I know. I
small
said those small time people.
Dude, do you see
Oh,
all
okay, I
these
got you.
posters? You know how much these cost?
Yeah,
They were-
I know.
they were like
I made all these
$3.99,
movies, by
dude.
the way.
my
They're like
my
$3.99.
dignity at a minimum wage
Okay.
position.
I think this is enough to end it on.
Do you wanna tease what's coming out? Our next episode that's coming out. Wait, hang on. So is it
I will.
yeah.
tease
Okay.
it.
So okay, you do it. You do something. Do something. Think of it. Oh, it's I see it brewing. I see it coming. He's blinking.
It's
Here it comes.
there. It's there. Hold up.
Wait,
Hold up.
he's
It's
gonna
not
reach
there
out and
though.
grab it soon. He's searching for it.
Mm.
Here it comes.
Winter came.
That's it. You thought it was coming? It's here.
It came.
Winter came. All right. Well, that was our episode
that was
of
a hell
the
of a
Rewriters.
teaser.
That was Rewriters Room. This is episode 4, right?
Episode 4.
Episode 4, Rewriters
This is in
Room.
between She-Hulk and the
And Winter
Came.
I hope you guys don't.
I hope you motherfuckers check out our other social medias.
I hope
and
people
shit.
don't hate me if they really like Scott Pilgrim.
I hope you motherfuckers check out our other social medias. I hope you motherfuckers hate Max and leave comments on his social medias linked down below about how he's wrong about Scott Pilgrim. If you agree with me and Brandon, our social medias will be linked down below.
Well,
as
actually, do genuinely say stuff down below too about it.
Yeah,
about
shit on
Scott
Max. Shit on Max for being wrong.
I'll respond.
And I'll respond if you guys praise me. Only if you praise me, though.
Again,
All right.
shout out Brandon and
Brandon,
his
our first
band
guest.
Baghead. We'll put him and everything down below in the.
Thank you for
Description.
having me.
I'm
Hell
very
yeah,
happy
brother,
you were
man.
here.
Thank you for coming in.
Hell
Hell yeah.
And
yeah. Hell yeah.
as always, Connor hopes you have a kick-ass day.
Kick ass day, motherfuckers.
If you know that you don't know, if you know that you don't know.